Right, guys, today I wanted to talk about what is the biggest nearly transfer of all time. So, by that I mean a transfer where a not very well known player or a very young player has been linked with, a decently well known side. In this case, they're all English teams, the cases that I've picked. And that player doesn't sign for them but goes on to be a world beater. Warning: if you should support Blackburn Rovers FC, I would click off this video right now. We'll get into it. Zinedine Zidane to Blackburn Rovers in 1995 or 1994, I can't remember which. It was one of those 2 years, I know. I think it was 1995. Yeah, just after they won the Premier League, that's right. So Zinedine Zidane was 23 at the time and playing for Bordeaux. And he wasn't, it wasn't like he was a player who was like, not known at all. I don't think he was very well known in the English game, though. If you went down the pub and asked a random person, they probably wouldn't know that much about him. But he nearly signed for Blackburn Rovers in 1995, and this was sort of a time where this was when Blackburn were at their peak, if you like. Literally just won the Premier League, and yeah, they were trying. They wanted to sign Zidane, but pulled out of it because obviously there's famous words of, I think it was the Blackburn chairman who said something like, "We don't need Zinedine Zidane. We've got Tim Sherwood." Um, so yeah, that didn't go great. Zidane went on to sign for Juventus and then later on for Real Madrid, and had an outstanding career, obviously, as we all know. Blackburn, without being too harsh, from 1995 onwards, it was a steady decline, wasn't it? It did take them a while to actually, be relegated from the division. I think they got relegated in 2012, so it was a good 17 years later. But case number two is actually only 2 years prior to Blackburn's relegation, and it is a little known striker from Poland playing for Lech Poznan at the time called Robert Lewandowski. Now, Blackburn wanted to sign him in 2010, and I believe the thing that stopped the deal going through was like a flight had to be like abandoned pre-flight. Obviously, it would I don't think they got on the plane and it stopped, but it had to be cancelled because of an ash cloud from a volcanic eruption, which obviously is going to stop a plane. And Lewandowski later went on to sign for Borussia Dortmund in, I think it was that summer. He spent 4 years at Dortmund, won 2 league titles, and got them to played a massive part in them getting to the 2013 Champions League final. Then in 2014, obviously signed for Bayern Munich, and thus far it looks like he might leave Bayern Munich this summer. Spent 8 years at Bayern Munich, won the league title pretty much, I think it is every year, won a Champions League in 2020, should have won a Ballon d'Or in 2020, and yeah, has just had an outstanding career in German football. And I would personally think that if Blackburn had have signed him and I look at him now, and obviously he's developed a lot and he's evolved with great players around him. Obviously, Blackburn weren't a horrendous side. Okay, that final season under, I think it was Steve Keane, um, who replaced Sam Allardyce the previous year. Okay, that year they weren't great. I think they had Yakubu up front. So I don't think Yakubu had a bad season despite their relegation. But if they'd had Lewandowski maybe partnering him up front, then you'd think that the amount of goals he would provide would, keep Blackburn up, because they didn't finish bottom that year. I think Wolves were rock bottom, and it was Blackburn and Bolton who went down that year, if I remember correctly. I can't remember who finished 18th and 19th, but I don't think either team were ridiculously far off staying up. I think it did go down to the final day of the season, which of course was, as we all know, is Aguero Day, 13th of May 2012. Yeah, and anyway, enough waffle. I think Lewandowski would have helped keep Blackburn up another season. Maybe he'd have gone on to a bigger club off the back of a good season at Blackburn, who knows. But yeah, it's definitely a what-if signing that never happened. And then my final case is actually Kylian Mbappe. He's the only case out of the three where he was, he was only a kid at the time. He was 13, and it was a trial. So I think he was at Monaco at the time. He just signed for Monaco's academy, or he might have been at a smaller French team academy. Can't remember. But he had to trial at Chelsea. They basically said he's very talented, but they didn't want him because they weren't impressed by his not refusal, but unwillingness to do defensive work as well as, all the good stuff attacking wise. And so they chose not to sign him. Now, if they wanted to sign him now, he would cost them, with the new contract, you're looking at upwards of 200 million, let's be honest. Like Real Madrid had a bid last year, a year ago, reportedly, of 180 million turned down with only 1 year left on his contract. So Chelsea might have made a bit of a mistake there, do you think? But anyway, out of all three cases, which one? I'm actually tempted to say Lewandowski, Mbappe, because Chelsea were that successful a club. Like, Chelsea haven't really dropped off. They've managed to consistently stay, bar one season in 2015-16, in the top 3 or 4 clubs in English football. I think that's fair to say. They've had a couple of seasons where they finished outside the top 4. I think they finished 5th under Conte in his last season. But other than that, over the past 10 years since they had the option to sign Mbappe, they've pretty much stayed right at the top of English football. Whereas Blackburn, there's always the what if Lewandowski had a 20-goal season at Blackburn, kept them up. They sold him for, I don't know, 30 million to maybe at Liverpool, who needed a striker in about 2012. What if Man United bought him instead of Robin van Persie? There we go. Man United would have paid Blackburn, 25 million maybe. Blackburn could have invested that 25 million on other members in the squad, and that keeps them up for potentially a few more years, or it might have even just managed to build a solid foundation for the future, which meant they never got relegated. And obviously we all know with what happened to Blackburn, at one point they were in the 3rd division. They've managed to get back up into the Championship now and are actually not doing too bad. But, what could have been. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.